Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being in here. Lots of people are still coming in. So feel free if you want to use the chat function, and we'll just start off and I'll just ask a general question. Let me know in the chat if you're interested in studying abroad, and specifically if you're interested in Korea. If not, where you are interested in studying abroad. I know right now it's kind of crazy with everything that's been going on in the world for the past 11 months, and sometimes traveling at all and study abroad seems like it's so far away. But I think just talking about it openly and being aware of our current limitations, but where we might go from here and looking hopefully forward to the future is a good place to start. So I know a lot of you are probably really excited to study abroad, and so I would love for you to share that excitement in the chat right now. And let me know if anyone's having some trouble hearing me, cutting in and out. I'm going to put in the chat right now. Awesome. I'm so excited to see all that excitement in the chat here with people. So Sarah said she'd like to go anywhere in Latin America. Luke said Korea, Japan, Germany, Portugal. So many people, Ireland, Scotland, Thailand, Australia. I'm so excited to see all these people excited for study abroad. Awesome. So cool. So if you guys have never been to a virtual culture hour, we actually do 2 of these a month, and every single time there's a chance to get a cultural credit opportunity. If they ever aren't for some reason, we would let you know in advance, but this will be for cultural credit. So if you can't stay for the whole session, I understand, at least coming to half of it, then you'll be okay. We are recording this, just so you do know, and we'll keep a copy of the chat so that we know who was here and who wasn't. And did not use the RSVP form. I don't know how you get here without that because I email people on that form, but if this email was forwarded to you or anything, just let me know in the chat. Just type it in there like, hey, I never got a chance to fill out the RSVP form, because that is how we're tracking cultural credits in addition to actually participating in this. So you can't just come in for 5 minutes and then leave and get cultural credit. We are monitoring that, but what's also awesome is at the very end of this, if you're able to stay for the end, at about 1:50, we're going to start a Kahoot. So we'll all play this little trivia game. It's going to be some random facts about Korea. Some of them I'll say during this, and some of them I won't go over. And whoever wins that Kahoot will actually get a really, really nice gift basket with Korean things in it, which is pretty cool. So if you're excited about that, please stay for the end through the Kahoot, because that's your chance to win that. And so the World Office is really excited to be able to offer this prize, and we'll be able to offer prizes for each virtual culture hour we do this semester. So keep your eye out, especially if you can't make it to all of our virtual culture hours. If you have a specific place that you're really interested in, make sure that you make sure to go to that cultural hour so that you can get that gift basket, a chance to win that. So awesome. And also, our lovely Wendy Vigiano is in the chat if you see her. She works for the World Center, and she's actually my boss. And I'm a student here, by the way, if you didn't know me. So she'll be in the chat answering questions. If you have any questions about study abroad, feel free to put them in the chat. We will have a discussion as we go through this, but questions now are great. Yeah, so Wendy just said hi. Wendy, did you want to introduce yourself or anything over the speaker, or just in the chat? So we also have some of the people in my fellow committee. So I work for the World Office as a World Ambassador. And so we have different committees that we have between social events with international students and study abroad and everything. So the study abroad committee is putting this one on. And so I see Sydney's here. So hi, Sydney. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Morgan. Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy Vigiano. I'm the program coordinator here at World. I'm so excited to see so many people here joining us for our first virtual culture hour this semester. You missed out on a whole bunch of really great ones last semester, but we're happy that you're here today. And so, as Morgan mentioned, I work in the World Center, and my primary responsibility is on our faculty-led programs. So as you may have seen, we offer a lot of faculty-led programs. Not as many this year because of COVID and programs being canceled, since we can't really get abroad anywhere. But we're hoping to offer a whole bunch more next summer. We're really excited about that. And I also work with our affiliate program, so our study abroad providers who are still offering study abroad programs this summer. So if you can't do a faculty led with us this summer, you can always look for one of the provider programs. And I did see a question that was in here about, is there a way to study abroad with an internship or do both? And the answer is yes, you can absolutely do both. You can study abroad and do an internship in place of a course that you would be taking. So absolutely, Nora, studying abroad and doing an internship at the same exact time is highly encouraged, and it looks awesome on a resume. But I don't want to take any more of the time because I really want to turn this over to Morgan. She's got a really great program scheduled for you all, but I'm just here to enjoy and have fun. Go ahead, Morgan, take it away.
Awesome. So kind of the whole shebang here, how we're going to do this today. I'm just going to throw out some random fun facts that may or may not be on the Kahoot later right now. And then we're going to talk a little about language in Korea. I know it's a weird place to start. We're going to talk a little bit about the Korean language, and then we'll be going through and looking at some stuff about food, some popular culture of Korea, which is always a hot topic when it comes to Korea. And then we will also be going over how to study abroad, some study abroad opportunities with Korea specifically, but also just some general information because I know not everybody in here is die hard wanting to go to Korea, but I'm happy if you are. So my name is Morgan. Sorry to not introduce myself earlier. Like I said, I'm a student here. I am a senior studying international business, and I've studied abroad twice actually. So I went to Korea for 4 months and studied there at Ewha University. I've got some pictures later that I can show you guys. And then after that, I did the Innsbruck program in Austria for our business school. So I've been on an exchange program and a faculty-led program. But if you don't know what those two things are, don't worry, we'll be able to explain them to you quite soon. So now that we're a little bit past 1:05, I'm going to start the presentation, but then all these questions that are coming in, continue if you want to about study abroad, and people will answer them for you in the chat, or if they don't get answered by the end, if you just want to put them back in there, and I'll stay to answer any questions that anybody has. All right, so let's get going. So a couple things that I'm just going to say off the cuff. That might be some hints towards some things later in the Kahoot. Some random things about Korea, some fun facts. Korea is the plastic surgery capital of the world. In Korea, they speak Korean, which we're about to go see later on. Babies are considered to be 1 year old when they're born in Korea. So we all start at 0 in America, and then we turn 1 at our first year. But the age thing is a little confusing, especially if you study abroad there, because people will be like, I'm 22. And you're like, what does that mean? Does that mean you're 22 and I'm 22? Or does that mean you're 21 and I'm 20? What does that mean? So that's a little bit of a cultural difference there. And then I'll be able to show you some Korea traditional dress later on, and some really, really cool things. So let's get started with the language portion of this, and I'm just going to show you guys some things. If someone wanted to volunteer and do some language with me and try to like repeat some things I say, just put it in the chat right now, and I'll pick somebody if you wanted to be able to do a little bit of a teaching lesson one-on-one with me right now, if you wanted to be my little helper. So if anyone wants that, volunteer in the chat right now, or if not, I'll just be by myself. I'll give everyone a second. No one's jumping forward with that opportunity. Oh, okay, Haley? Okay, Haley was the first one. Haley got in there. Okay, so Haley, do you want to turn on your mic?
Yeah.
Hi, Haley, how are you?
Good.
Okay, so this is not going to be anything crazy. It is okay if you mispronounce some of these things, but I'm just gonna go through some of these language things, and you can just repeat after me, and I can teach you how to say them. So, all right. So Korean language lesson. Right here, you see the Korean flag, and right below it, something looks it looks a little strange maybe to some of your eyes, and it says 한국어, which is the word for Korean in Korean. So basically, Korean works in an alphabet, actually, not characters. So if any of you familiar are with Japanese or Chinese, those are in characters, and this is actually an alphabet, even though it looks a little bit difficult to discern. So Korean language works where they have syllables, and each syllable is made up of 2 to 4 letters. That's how they make words. So Haley, if you wanted to repeat after me, 한국어.
한국어.
That was pretty good. Look at you. You did really well with that. Another thing to mention for Korean language is that there's no stress on any of the syllables. They have a way and a tonality of speaking somewhat. It's not like tones are with Mandarin or anything like that, but there's a kind of a way to speak and a rhythm, but it's not necessarily where there's stressed and unstressed syllables like in English. So you did pretty well with that. All right, so the next one. So this is a little bit more explanation on Hangul. Hangul is the Korean alphabet. So Hangugo is Korean, and then Hangul is the Korean alphabet. So do you want to try and say Hangul, Haley?
Okay. Hangul.
Good job. Look at that. So you guys can see that at the top left of the screen, it says Hangul in Romanized characters. So that's like our English letters that we see. And so often you'll see Korean written out in Romanized characters, especially when people are learning to speak it, because you can read that a lot easier than the kind of lines and circles underneath that. But so it's written in Romanized characters on top, but still in Korean, and then in actual Hangul below it. So actually, Hangul is derived from a mixture of different Asian languages, but specifically derived from Chinese. And so the 15th century King Sejong, which is the most famous king in Korea, he invented Hangul. So he is known for inventing it. There's probably a little truth to that and a little not truth to that. But basically, he established the Korean alphabet, and it has evolved today into something slightly different from where it started, but it's pretty similar. There are some characters that are less used, some ways to say things that are less done. And you guys will also see in a minute that because of the spread of English across the world, Korean has actually been influenced by English a lot as well, because as technology grew in the world, English was kind of the staple for how to pronounce things like computer. And so it's really interesting how those things work. So if you see the little alphabet, Faith just say it's a lot easier than it looks, and you can probably learn it in an afternoon. So you can learn basically this Korean alphabet and how to read Korean in probably an afternoon. To keep it in your head, you might have to do it for a couple weeks, but it's really easy to read after you spend some time looking at this Korean alphabet and practicing. And I am not a fluent Korean speaker. I would never say that. I've been through about a 200 level Korean class, so I can read it and I can have really basic conversations, but I don't do super well when it comes to the grammar, which can be a little bit difficult, and some other things, but I'm trying my best. So is there a slang version of Korean? That's a really great question. There is a lot of different slang in all languages, but definitely there are some slang things in Korean, and language is alive. So people, you maybe have heard about dead languages, like Latin as being a dead language where it's not spoken anymore. But Korean and all languages that exist are alive. So they change with how the world evolves. So it's pretty cool. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next slide. So we're going to start with hello. So this Korean language thing won't go on for too long in case you're not that interested in it, but I thought it'd be a nice way to start. So to say hello, it's 안녕하세요. Can you try that for me, Haley?
안녕하세요.
Yeah, that was really, really good. You're really good at this, actually. It's difficult when you look at a word that's supposed to be hello and it looks super long, but basically for the slang comment, people just say 안녕. They just quicken things, take out a lot of the letters, and just kind of rush it. So you can just say 안녕. You want to try that, Haley? It's this part right here. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. All right. So I'll move on to the next one. So thank you is 감사합니다. 감사합니다. So do you want to try saying that one? That was a little harder.
Okay. 감사합니다.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So good job there. So 감사합니다, or people can shorten that in different ways. Also with Korean, there's polite speech and impolite, or formal and informal speech. And so some things that you would say to your best friend, you will not say to your boss or your mother. And so if any of you are from like the southern United States, you can almost think of it as putting please and thank you on things, but just with almost every word you say, there's either a different way, like a different word completely, or just an additive to the end of the word so that you're being formal and not using as much slang. So 안녕 would be like hi. Yeah, you're right, Jacob. Yeah, it'd be like 안녕. You just be like hi really quickly. And then on the phone, actually, hello is different as well. It's 여보세요, which is a completely different way to say it. All right. So this is a more useful one if you're traveling in Korea and you have the urge to go to the bathroom and you need to find out where it is. So it's 화장실 어디예요? 화장실 어디예요? So 어디예요 is like where is it? And 화장실 is bathroom. So I know this will be a tough one, Haley, but if you just want to go, there's two words there, so we'll just do one word and then the other. 화장실.
화장실.
That was a good try. But for your first try, that was a very difficult word, so that was good. And the second word is 어디예요.
이대요.
Okay, good job. Yeah, for a first try, that was really good. That is that shows you a bit where Korean gets a bit complicated. Some of their letters we're not used to forming our mouth that way when we are basic English speakers. So they put a lot of consonants together next to each other that don't make a lot of sense in our mouth. And honestly, for learning Korean, learning how to form your mouth in the correct way is a really good start to being able to say things. All right, and this is some example of some words that have actually, they sometimes had more original, like Korean or Chinese or Japanese based words, but then over time and with the insert of English and being English becoming more of a global language, they've changed some things. So the first one we have there, Haley, can you guess what that first thing is? What it's supposed to actually say?
Computer.
Yeah, so what would the English word be for that?
Computer.
Yeah, so it's computer. And so when someone's speaking really fast and that's in the middle of a sentence, you might not pick that out, but computer. And so it sounds a lot like computer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then do you have an idea what the English word for the middle one is? I've kind of put some pictures in there to help guide a little bit.
Orange.
Yeah, orange. So in Korean, it's orenji.
Orangey.
Can you guess it? Yeah, good job. Awesome. And then the last one, can you guess what that one is?
Ice cream.
Yeah, it's ice cream. So it's ice cream. So they said I'm pronouncing these syllables a lot more separated than Koreans actually pronounce these words, but it's so you can kind of hear it a little bit. Usually be like ice cream, ice cream. And so like you can understand how that those are derived a little bit from English and have been influenced. So another one that's interesting is we say like cell phone or iPhone or something, and over there it's handphone, so hand phone, but said with kind of Korean language in there, which is pretty funny. And then this is an easy one. So it's yes and no. So yes is ne, ne. It kind of sounds like NEH almost, ne. Not neigh like a horse, but ne, ne, ne. And then no would be ani, ani. So do you want to try saying those?
Ne. Ani.
Yeah, good job. Awesome. And then, yeah. So thank you very much, Haley, for being my helper for that. I really appreciate it. If you just want to mute your mic now, I really appreciate your help in that. So Cassia said, my sister-in-law is Korean and the word for coffee is almost like saying copy. Yeah, it's kopi. Kopi. It's like almost like K-O-P-I. But yeah, you're right. And then this thing that I'm showing you on the screen is actually a company called Talk to Me in Korean. But if any of you have want to learn Korean, this is a really good place to start. It's actually, I found them like 5 or 6 years ago, I think, at this point, trying to figure out how old I am. But yeah, so Talk to Me in Korean is a really cool company. They have hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos. They have their own website that you can use for free. They have books that you can buy between workbooks and slang books, books for if you're trying to work in Korea. So if you wanted to learn Korean, I would jot down Talk to Me in Korean. They also go by the acronym TTMIK, just because they're a really, really amazing place to start, and they have a lot of free material out there. Oh, you have their first work break. Yeah, it's a really, really good place, and they have a majority of their stuff out there for free. And so you can just use all of their free stuff. Sorry, this pop-up keeps coming up. I don't know how to get that to go away. But yeah, awesome. So we've moved past the language stuff. Oops. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm having a technical difficulty. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to reshare in a second. Alrighty. Okay. So now on to some things that are a little bit more pop culture centered. So probably if you've heard of Korean pop culture, the first thing someone's talked to you about has been K-pop. So if you just want to put in the chat right now, if you like K-pop, you can just put yes or no, or you can scream BTS and like written in the chat if you want to. A lot of people really like Korean music. So if you don't like it, totally fine. We're not judging anyone here for being a super big fan, a medium fan, to not a fan at all. I am kind of in the middle. I really enjoy listening to their music, and I think it's really cool. It's not my favorite. I am by no means like a fanatic or anything, which isn't bad. Having an interest and a passion is really, really good. I do not know. I know all the names of the BTS members, and I know all the names of the Blackpink members, but that's about it. I know some of their songs. 17 is really good. You're right. Yeah. So I've listened to some K-pop. Having been in Korea, it was kind of all around you a lot. Someone said BTS for life. Yeah. Okay, the only K-pop song you've heard is Gangnam Style. Do you actually know what Gangnam Style means or where it comes from? It might show up later in a certain quiz we have. But Gangnam is actually an area of Seoul. So Seoul, South Korea is this really like large metropolitan city. Actually, over half of the people that live in Korea live in Seoul. It's a lot of people live in Seoul in the metropolitan area, so it's separated into different divisions. And so Gangnam is a district of Seoul, and it is the affluent of affluent people often live there. The really like expensive clubs and really expensive shops and the fanciest cars are in Gangnam. So Gangnam actually has to do with being affluent or having a certain style and attitude about you that is Gangnam area, like the Gangnam district. So yeah, awesome. So Blackpink is a really popular female K-pop group, and BTS, as you've probably heard, is a very popular Korean group, and it's really interesting for me as a business major, honestly, to watch their growth and how they become so globalized and actually won awards, been at Coachella, been on Saturday Night Live, and have kind of slowly but surely taken over the world. If you haven't heard of BTS, put it in the chat right now. If this is your first time hearing of BTS, the Korean boy band, let me know in the chat right now, because I would be shocked if someone actually. Okay, cool. Someone hasn't. Awesome. See, that was interesting to see. We got a couple people. Okay, cool. So something you could do a quick Google search on, because they have been, yeah, only heard of it but didn't know what. Usually that's what I hear. It's either, oh yeah, I totally know what that is, or it's, I've heard of them but I have no idea what's going on. What does that stand for? But they're really cool. So we don't have enough time today to go into it, and I don't want to bore the people who don't care. But K-pop's a pretty interesting thing. And if you've ever listened to their music, you've probably heard one of their songs on the radio. Dynamite is really popular right now by BTS. Anyway, so I'll move on to the next slide, though, for everybody's sake. Alrighty. And of course, it's going to do this. Okay. So these are some Korean TV shows and movies that you could look at if you were interested in just looking at some more popular culture that wasn't music. These you will have to watch with subtitles unless they've been dubbed into English. So the one on the far left is a really popular one that's on Netflix, I believe. It's called Descendants of the Sun. It's about about North Korea and South Korea and a soldier and a girl meeting. And then I did not include Parasite. But Parasite is an amazing movie, and you guys need to watch it. I like that totally slipped my mind. Thank you for Ashley who put that in there. Parasite won the best movie, and so it is a really cool movie. The second image here, you might not recognize that, but when I was younger, my first piece of Korean pop culture was the most famous Korean drama ever, which was called Boys Over Flowers. It is super dramatic and makes fun of itself, and it's pretty cool. Train to Busan is an amazing movie. It's really cool. It's not quite Parasite level, but it's a zombie movie in Korea, and it's really well done. A lot of people have heard of that. I'm glad there's so much praise for that movie in there. And then the last thing over here that you might not have heard about is called Running Man. It's actually like a comedy reality show where basically they go through a bunch of different games and like triathlon-y game, trivia, and it's a bunch of really famous Korean comedians and actors just goofing around and having fun. If you guys have ever seen random clips on the internet of like Japanese reality shows or anything, it's not quite that level where the most random of things can happen ever, but it's definitely super funny for a lot of people. Not everybody's taste. I don't like The Office, for instance, but I think Running Man is hilarious. Don't hate me for not loving The Office anyway. But Running Man is really funny. So if you get the chance to see a clip of it online or anything, it's a really good time. You kind of get the idea of Korean humor a little bit from it, which is interesting to see. So yeah. I'm glad you guys are all excited over things. If you have suggestions for other K-dramas that people should try, please put them in the chat. There's a lot of them on Netflix now. I remember I was in high school, and I had seen Boys Over Flowers, which is that second image. And I was like, I need to watch more Korean dramas. Like, I need this in my life. And I had to, like, go on specific websites that don't, like Drama Fever and stuff like that, that had, like, either pirated them or had access to them and rights to them because no one did. And now Netflix is creating their own Korean dramas, which is such a crazy world we live in. So if you want to get caught up on that, it's a good way to learn Korean language. Try turning off the subtitles every once in a while and see what you understand. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, I've even talked to a professor before that's like, oh yeah, I watch Korean dramas with my son. I love them. Have you seen it? Descendants of the Sun is her favorite thing ever. So you never know who you might run into that's seen Korean dramas or is into that kind of stuff. So it's cool. All right, so the next thing we're moving on to is our talk about study abroad. So I'm going to continue talking about Korea as we go through this, but I know a lot of you in here are not just specifically looking to study abroad in Korea. So I'm going to explain a few things. This will be a great time for you guys to put questions in the chat about study abroad, and we can go through them. But continue with your excitement over K-pop and K-dramas and movies and all that kind of stuff, because it's awesome to see. I love Lee Jung-suk. Yes, I will watch anything that has him in it. I agree. Yeah, Alhambra is a good one too. Okay, so study abroad. So here at Stetson, there's 3 different ways that you can study abroad. So there are exchange programs, faculty-led programs, affiliate programs. An exchange program is what I did when I went to Korea. This here is actually a picture of my university. It's called Ewha Women's University, and it was a really, really amazing experience. That actually picture that you're looking at is an architectural marvel that is built into a mountainside that has classrooms all in it on the sides there, with greenery growing on top. And during the season, seeing that all change from like green to brown to bright colors for spring was awesome. So an exchange program is a semester or a year that you study abroad in a different country. So you will be going to a different university with the students of that university, the faculty, and the staff of that university, but you will be getting Stetson credit for the classes that you're taking. So it's a really amazing opportunity to have a whole semester or a whole year abroad, and still get credit back home for Stetson for that. So if you wanted to see the different exchange programs that we have available, just go on Google and type in Stetson World Exchange or Stetson World Study Abroad, and you'll be able to website where we have all of the exchange programs that we do. We do revise them every semester or so to some of them change and come and go a little bit, but not too much. Those are usually pretty stagnant. Obviously with COVID we've had some changes, but if you're interested in an exchange program, it's a really good place to look at is that website. Then a faculty-led program is a program where one of the faculty members of Stetson has a class that they think would be enhanced by the culture, the resources, the history, the environment of a different place. And so they take a class to that different country, and you do it with Stetson faculty and staff and Stetson students. And it can be anywhere from 1 week to a month and a half for faculty-led programs. And those individually have their own costs associated with them. And they're usually during the summer. Some of them are during the winter or the spring break as well. So if you're interested in those, we only have a couple right now that are on the website due to COVID things. Some of them are getting canceled, but if you have any questions about that at all, please let us know and we'd be happy to talk to you about that. But usually the summertime, a majority of our faculty-led programs happen, and then we do have some for spring break and winter break usually. And then you would also still be taking Stetson classes. And then affiliate programs, I'm not going to talk about too much, but they are another option. If you do not see a study abroad program that you want to do via exchange or faculty-led programs that Stetson offers, and you have a very specific place you want to go to, or you found a really cool study abroad program online, then you can just go find a program. And then if you find one that's like outside of Stetson's resources, you can come and talk to the office and say, hey, I found this program, it's with a different company, and they will help you look into it, make sure that it is legitimate, that you're not getting scammed or anything. Usually we have some companies that we tend to go with, like CIEE, Teen Abroad, IES. You can also look them up through our world website, and we have some affiliate links that you can click on. So you can go anywhere in the world. There's thousands of affiliate programs. We, through Exchange and Faculty, have 100 or so programs to choose from, but if you really want to study abroad, it's possible during normal sans COVID times. But yeah, it's a really, 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 really good option if you can't find what you want through exchange or faculty led. And so if you have specific questions about study abroad beyond that, I'm going to stick around after the Kahoot and we can talk about it a little bit more. Just for information, we don't have a faculty-led program going to Korea right now. We have had them in the past. And for exchange programs, we have at least 3 different universities that we have an exchange partnership with that you can go. So Ewha is one of them. It's a women's university, but you can go there as a male. So how that works is that For Korean students, it is only female. For international students, it's actually almost 50-50, female and male, which is pretty cool. What's the most popular study abroad spot? I actually don't think there's any individual spot that is the most popular. We probably know of a program that people go to often, but I'd say there's a bunch of different ones. People have all different places they go. For faculty-led programs, a lot of people have gone on the Innsbruck program. It's through the business school, but they do have, sometimes they have classes in other areas. But definitely Innsbruck has run for quite a few years at Stetson. And Europe does tend to be popular, but no specific country, like Wendy just said in the chat there. So I'll go over some more study abroad stuff later if everyone wants me to, but for right now, I'm going to just show you a couple pictures of my experience and give you a teeny bit of information. This is not going to be me gushing about my experience, but it might make you a little bit jealous. But I'll just show you some things. So this is some of my personal pictures that I took in Korea. So to your left here, this is a traditional, like, nice Korean palace house that you can see. Yes, please keep posting your questions in the chat about study abroad, and Wendy can continue answering them. So this is a traditional Korean affluent house that's for royalty. The architecture is really cool. Yeah. And then on the right there, does anyone have a guess they want to put in the chat of what that's a picture of on the right? Anyone have a guess? So there's some stairs there. My friend Sophie from Germany is in this picture. A stadium, a subway. Yeah, you guys are right. So it's actually a subway. So if you've ever heard, a temple is a good guess as well. So if you've ever actually heard of Korean public transportation, it's really, really clean. And it's a really good, yeah, the temple, on the left, it does look like a temple. It's actually part of a smaller palace in Korea. And so the Korean subways are really clean. They're very on time. They're really nice. You don't have to worry about anybody like hurting you on them or anything. Like, they're a very, very safe place to be also. And then a lot of them have culture and art throughout them. So they'll have different sculptures and paintings, or like this one, which is actually, if you look closer, some of the drawings in them, the little cutouts mean something. But this is part of a subway. And there's a lot of really cool art on the walls there. Wendy said anything's cleaner than a New York subway. That's true. Okay, so, and there's a ton of different palaces in Seoul. So you'll see a lot of different ones. And then here's some pictures of me. So on the left is me in a traditional hanbok. So the most famous palace in Korean is Gyeongbokgung. So that's the palace that I went to, and actually right outside of that, you can walk around in the neighborhoods, and there's tons and tons and tons of places where you rent the hanbok, which basically in there, and you pick out your hanbok that you want, a top piece and a skirt for females. For guys, it's pants and a top piece. And then they have accessories. They have handbags. They have shoes. They have hats. They have like little flower crowns like the one I have on. And you go and choose the different pieces that you want. So you can pick a different top and a different skirt. And you get to play dress up. So they put you in a changing room. You change this. You put your little clothes in a bag. You put all your stuff besides like your wallet and your phone in a locker. And then you carry around their bag with you that has your wallet and your phone in it. And you get to go be a prince or a princess for a day at the palace. And then if you're wearing traditional clothing going to the palace, they let you in for free. And the cost of renting the clothing is like $20 US for the whole day, which is really, really cool. They will also do your hair for you. So they'll do braiding of your hair or just put it up in a ponytail. They try to they can put things in it too. So usually it's $20 US to about $50 or $60 US depending on where you go. Mine was like 30, 35, which wasn't too bad. And that's in US dollars. I've already done the calculation in my head about how much that cost. But yeah, so that was such a cool experience. I did that twice. So I did that once just with my friend from Germany that I hung out with a lot. And then I did it once with an organization at my school that did a bunch of different cultural trips. So I did it with a big group of people. So I got to do it twice, which was really, really cool. So you go around there, everyone's taking pictures. But when I went, it wasn't super overly crowded. Sometimes there are peak seasons for it to be really crowded, but usually it's a giant complex. There's lots of space for you to go take pictures. But it's not just all about taking pictures, right? So like that picture of the palace I showed you before. You can really look at the architecture. There's a lot on the history of it there, and you read up on the history, and you just walk around. And I went in the spring, so there were cherry blossoms blooming and other plants, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, so actually, you're right. I think I'm saying your name right, Cassia. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but you were actually absolutely correct where my picture is from. So good job. So that is from the base of the Seoul Tower. So some of the highest points of Korea where you can see almost all of Seoul from the top of that tower. We went on a trip there, and I just took a picture looking out. That's not the top of the tower either. So to get there, you ride a bus about halfway up, and then you walk up the rest of the mountain to get to the tower. And then once you're at the tower, you can go up an elevator to get to the top of it. But it was really, really cool. There's some really beautiful views. Now, Seoul, South Korea is a metropolitan area, so there is a level of pollution. That's one thing to look out for if you ever do go to Korea or China or somewhere similar. And the apps that you can download on your phone, as well as some notifications that you'll get through a texting system, will tell you the pollution levels or the yellow pollen levels or the yellow dust levels that are in the air. There are chances where there's a day or so that's not safe to go out. I think I had one day, maybe two, when I was there out of the 4 months where it was not safe to actually go outside, and that can happen. For reference, I have asthma. I'm allergic to cigarette smoke. Cigarette smoking is kind of prevalent in Korea, but the pollution and everything didn't bother me too much. It's not always there. Sometimes there's days where it's crystal clear and you can see everything, but as you can see in this picture, it's not that. It's a little color edited, but not too much. And you can see that there's a little bit of a haze over the city, so when you get higher up, you can notice that a little bit more, but it's not too bad. And then this is just a picture of one of the best parts of studying abroad, which is the people you meet. I think represented in this picture, there's 6 different countries of where people are from. And I met some really, really amazing people in my study abroad, and through exchange, I'm still in contact with several of them, and we talk about how everyone's doing, where everyone is with graduating, and it's a really, really cool experience. And we were taking pictures of everything, and then we took a group picture, and it was cute. Awesome. So next, of course not. That was fun. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we're able to do the Kahoot. So if everyone is ready, I'm going to try to get us here. So if you have class, if you have cultural credit, that's okay. We've noted that you're chatting with us. It's okay if you have to leave right now and you have to miss the Kahoot if you have class or something. We'll note that down. But yeah, so
Morgan,
we're going to start.
can I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, there was a question about studying abroad and financing. I started typing it and then my entire computer crashed. Well,
that's fine.
Blackboard. But yes, there are funds for studying abroad. Does offer a scholarship once a year. You can apply twice a year for the scholarship actually, but you're only eligible for one. Those scholarships can range anywhere from $500 to $3,000 depending on the program that you're going on. And also depending on your need. But one thing to keep in mind with an exchange program, you are paying Stetson tuition for the exchange program, so it is exactly the same. There is no difference in the Stetson tuition. So if you have a scholarship through Stetson or full ride or something like that, your scholarship will apply to an exchange program. But instead of paying housing and meals and all that other fees here at Stetson for the semester, you'll pay housing directly to that local university, which, depending on where you are, could be a lot cheaper than here at Stetson. But yes, there are some funding opportunities available. Sorry to interrupt that, Morgan.
That's okay, no worries. So I'm going to share the Kahoot screen now. Just know if you can stay, please stay through the end of the Kahoot so you guys can play along and experience it. So I'm going to share the screen now. We do have a paid for version of Kahoot, so you'll be able to join. So if you are ready, if you are confused on how to use a Kahoot, let us know in the chat. But basically just go to that website and type in that game pin. Make sure you use your full name so that whoever the winner is, we can send them the basket. And I'm going to give everyone till about 3 or 4 more minutes to be able to get into this Kahoot. So. If your name doesn't fit, just abbreviate as best you can. I just want to be able to say, like, if I said Haley or Jacob and there were like 8 of you in here, I just wouldn't want that to get confused. So I just want to make sure. That's okay, Randy. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me, everyone that had to leave. It's okay if it didn't completely fit. Just do the best you can. Yeah, I didn't know there was a character limit. That makes sense, but I didn't know that. I found out like an hour ago, everyone, by the way, that Kahoot only allows up to 20 people. So if you're ever trying to do a Kahoot with lots of people, it has to be paid for. The prize for winning is actually a Korean gift basket that has some Korean face masks, some snacks. It's got about 40 different things in it, which is pretty cool. So we would be able to ship it to your house or wherever you're staying at. So if you're on campus, we can ship it to your Stetson box, or if you're off campus, we can ship it to you. So whoever the winner is, I'm going to have them email me, and they can send me their address once we determine who the winner is. And so if you've never used a Kahoot before, the things are going to show up on my screen with the questions, and on your phone or your computer, you're going to be able to see the answers. I don't want people who are not familiar with Kahoot to lose out on the chance to win it. So the top person is going to get the prize. We don't have any secondary prizes besides clap. But also, the Kahoot points are based on timing. So you need to be correct, but you also need to be quick about it. So I would go with your intuition on it. All right? Please message in the chat if you are having difficulty getting into the Kahoot, because I want to start it in the next couple of minutes. So just take a break from trying to get into the Kahoot real fast. Let me know you're still having difficulty, and I'll wait for you. Or just put your mic on and say that you're having difficulty, and then I can know to wait for you, because if not, we'll get started soon. If you feel uncomfortable putting your 800 number in the chat, just email it to my email right here that I'm putting through. You can also choose that if you feel uncomfortable putting it in the chat. And this is just to verify that people were here the whole time, because if I just go on the RSVP, someone could have just not shown up, and so I'm just going to cross-reference. Awesome. All right. Probably like 60 more seconds, and then I'm going to start up the Kahoot. Is anyone else having difficulty getting in? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Okay, there's still a couple people joining. Okay, you're good. I'll wait another minute or two. 1:45 is going to be the cutoff point so that we can actually make sure you don't go too far past 2 and people need to leave, so we can give everyone the opportunity to get the prize. So let me know if you're having trouble right now. Otherwise, in like a minute or so, I'll start. Oh, people went in and out. Some people's crashed, I think. Thanks for coming, by the way, everyone who's coming and going right now. It's been really fun. We started out these virtual culture hours with like 10, 20 people in them. I got up to 30 one time we had like 40 or 50. It was really cool to see over 100 people here. I hope you're all happy to get cultural credits. And just give us like about a week or so to get these culture credits in. We do have to cross-reference them, and so does it take a bit. They might not be in tomorrow, so. Ashley said, yes, I need them. Oh well. The next cultural hour is going to be about France, and it will be 2 weeks from today, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, it should be February 18th will be our virtual culture hour on France. And so Sydney is part of our study abroad committee, and she'll be hosting that one with me. Awesome. We'll see you there, Ashley. Thanks, Kim, for saying this is interesting. I appreciate it. Yes, so make sure to follow our Instagram at Stetson World, and I will email that was at this virtual culture hour with the link to the one for France, so that you don't have to double RSVP. Yeah, that's what I did last semester too. So if you've signed up for a virtual culture hour, and if you're tired of hearing emails from me, you can send me an email. Just be nice about it. Just say, hey, just take me off the list. But yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to get us started with this Kahoot. All right, everybody? So let's go. All right, everybody ready? We're starting now. Alrighty, Korean trivia. The most unlucky number in Korean culture is it 3, 4, 6, or 11? The number that's actually the most unlucky is 4. So in America, usually our unlucky number is 13. So you'll see in some really tall buildings, they'll have skipped actually floor 13. And a similar thing is true for Korea. Some of them actually skip floor 4. And it's actually the same in China, unlucky number 4. There's a lot of stuff behind that, so I won't go through explaining it. But yeah. So good job to Chloe. She's at the top of our ranks right now. Here's the next question. True or false? South Korea is the plastic surgery capital of the world. True or false? So it's actually true. South Korea is the plastic surgery capital of the world. They have a ton of plastic surgeons. Lots of rich people especially fly in to get plastic surgery done in Korea, whether they're American, European, Chinese. People fly in from everywhere to get plastic surgery done in Korea. It's cheaper than in some other areas, but also safe and decently regulated, so it's very popular there. It's also in Korea, plastic surgery or any kind of cosmetic surgery is not always looked upon as surgery. They look at it as just like cosmetic enhancement, so it's kind of interesting. Chloe's still up there. Good job. All right, next question. What is Korea's traditional dress called? So you saw a picture of me in it. Hanfu, hanbok, kimono, sari. Which is it? So the rest of those are actually names for traditional dress in other countries, but for Korea, it's the hanbok. I got some of you on that hanfu one. Ooh, Jasmine is on a roll. She's gotten all 3 of the answers correct. Good job. Awesome. All right, what is the common alcohol beverage in South Korea? Is it baijiu, arak, sake, or soju? It's pictured in this image above. They're usually in green bottles, poured into little shot glasses, or mixed with beer. So it is soju. So, yeah, there you go. So soju is like $1 or $2 to buy a decent bottle of it that could probably serve 2 to 4 people. So it's a very, very popular drink in Korea. Is it a Korean law that online banking must be done using Internet Explorer? True or false? Is it? Is it a Korean law? Am I tricking you? I have questions. So it is Korean law that all online banking has to be done using Internet Explorer. That I know that is such a random thing, but that is still Korean law. I checked this morning that you have to use Internet Explorer to do online banking. I agree that it seems like a security thing, but yeah. Luckily for studying abroad, I did not have to do any online banking that wasn't with an American bank because I just used a travel credit card. But yeah, you went to international business course. That's cool. Yeah, so you have to use Internet Explorer. There's a lot of really weird rules like that. So yeah, I guess it's just like easier because there's less things. Yeah, trick question. Okay, good job, Jasmine. All right. Let's see. Which of these is a South Korean flag? You may have seen that on my first slide. So which one of these is it? Like most flags, there's specific meaning to all of the lines and colorings of the Korean flag. So I won't get into that right now because it'll take too long to explain. But you almost picked Japan. Yeah. That makes sense. It's fun. Alrighty. So yeah, there's Japan's flag, I believe Malaysia, and I'm just not going to misname the flags. I put those flag pictures in there like a month ago. I forgot. Which of these languages is Korean? So you're going to see pictures of some characters and some letters there. Pick out the Korean one. Maybe this a little bit difficult, but I think I've got Korean, Japanese, Arabic, and Chinese, Mandarin Chinese on there. But yes, so, and the word that's written down there, if anyone didn't know, the word that I wrote in Korean is hello. 안녕하세요. Awesome. Jasmine's still keeping her lead. She got a decent lead. Someone knock her out. What is the legal drinking age in Korea? So this is kind of a trick question, and I'm sorry. The legal drinking age in Korea is 19. However, there's another question we'll see in a minute that influences that answer. So I'm sorry. For everyone who picked 18, you're kind of right. And that was kind of a trick question. What is the capital of South Korea? Is it Incheon, Busan, Gangnam, or Seoul? So the capital of Korea is Seoul. Good job to almost all of you that got that right. Incheon is the airport city kind of that you fly into when you fly internationally into Korea. Gangnam is that really rich district we talked about, and Busan is the second largest city in Korea, and it's on the southern peninsula. And I've been there. It was gorgeous. I didn't know as a Floridian I would miss the beach so much, and I got to Busan and there was beach, and I was the happiest person in the world. Alrighty, next one. Which one of these is a Korean side dish? So Korean side dishes are shown here. So there's banh mi, kimchi, gyoza, naan. Kimchi, yes, kimchi is a Korean side dish. That's probably the most popular Korean side dish you'll hear about. There's hundreds of Korean side dishes. So true or false? In Korea, babies are considered 1 year old at birth. True or false? So this is where my apology comes into the people that picked 18 for Korean legal drinking age, because I mentioned this earlier. So yeah, so Korean babies are considered 1 year old at birth. So in Korea, in their legal writing, you are 19 when you're able to drink, which is why I phrased the question that way. But if you're a foreigner, you are 18 and allowed to drink because you're technically 19. So basically, your age, by the way, changes when the new year comes through. So it's not on your birthday either. You celebrate your birthday, but the age changes when the year changes. So like I'm turning 23 this year, I'm currently 22. But because it's 2021 and I turned 23 this year, I would be 23 in Korean age. And that's how it works. Or I'd be 24 in Korean age. See how that's confusing? I'm 22 right now. I turned 23 this year, but I'm 24 in Korean age right now. So last year, I would have been 23 because it's 1 year older plus it's very confusing. You have no idea how many times we had these conversations and got really confused how old people were. And then you just kind of give up. Alrighty, next one. Which of the is not a K-pop group? So I have a picture of BTS on this screen, but I didn't give you the option of BTS. Which one's not a K-pop group? You might get tripped up by this one. So 17, Monsta X, Blackpink, Banana Lemon. Which one of these is not a K-pop group? Thanks for the people that have to go. Sorry you missed the end of the Kahoot, but yeah, so Banana Lemon is a J-pop group that's actually pretty popular. A lot of people who like Korean music and Korean K-pop often get into J-pop through like Banana Lemon, which is a girl group. But yeah, so all the rest of those were Korean K-pop groups. Or K-pop groups. Saying Korean and then K-pop is. Anyway. Alrighty, which of these outlines is South Korea? So you're going to see some outlines of some countries. I know they're a little hard to see, and I'm sorry about that. But if you can try to pick it out and squint. Okay, for the one person that picked Florida, you're memeing. Or maybe you're not. I'm sorry if you're not memeing. But yeah, Florida, thank you. I try to be funny. It doesn't always work out sometimes, but I try. Okay. Jasmine's still at the top, though. Rachel is really coming for her spot, though. All right, which automobile brand is Korean? So Nissan, Mazda, Hyundai, or Infiniti? Which one do you think is actually a Korean brand? So Hyundai. Hyundai is the automobile brand. So you've probably heard that word said in America 800 different ways. And I know that there can't be a standard, but every time I hear a commercial say it, and they say it a different way, this is like slightly irking. Like, there's no point to it. Like, correcting people is just whatever. But Hyundai is how you actually call it. Nope, Hyundai is Korean. There's also a really popular car brand. Aw, Jasmine, you've fallen from grace. Yeah, people trying to spell Hyundai is really funny, actually, too. Or just trying to say, people say Hyundai, yeah, I don't know. They just don't know how to do the Hyundai. All right, Rachel is killing it. Let's see if someone can pop her out. What is the currency in South Korea? What's it called? Yen, dinar, karuna, won. What is it? It's pictured right here. If you can read Korean, it's written on there. It says man, and then it says something else. So it said man won. which would mean 10,000, but it's really just like in American dollars, it's like 877. So actually you'll notice in Korean money, your simplest bill is 1,000. So that actually has to do with how currency evolved because of the Korean War. So there we go. Gangnam Style is a song about finding your own unique style. True or false? There we go. So it's false. It's about being part of this trendy, hip, like high class style. So everyone saying good game in the chat. Good game. That was the last trick question for the end. So it might have pushed some people out of there. Is everyone excited to see who the winner is, to see if they win? Let's see. So number 3 is Rachel. Good job. She got 15 out of 16. Natalia, good job, 14 out of 16. And our number 1, which is the fastest, but got one less right than Rachel, was Jasmine. She made it all the way back up. That was really exciting. It was actually like a nail-biter there. So Jasmine, if you can email me, I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you can just email me your full name and your address with the zip code and everything, you will be getting the Korean little gift package, which is exciting. Yeah, if anyone has to leave right now, feel free. If you have questions for Study Abroad, this is kind of the end of it. I do have a little bit more on like the food of Korea. We weren't able to get to, so if you wanted to stay for that, you're more than welcome to. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks for playing. If anyone wants more of an explanation for that Gangnam Style question, Gangnam Style, the song itself, took some flack in Korea because it was like all about this and promoting this high-class culture, expensive culture. And people kind of took issue with that because they're like, you need to have your own unique sense of style and you don't have to follow what everybody else does. But it was just a fun song. So they actually have a Gangnam Style sculpture in Gangnam. You guys have a great rest of your day. If you're staying for either the food part that I can get back to, or if you have questions about Study Abroad, just put them in the chat, or you can actually unmute yourself at this point. We're down to about 30 people. So if you've got questions, then just put them in the chat or turn on your mic. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And make sure to come to the next Virtual Culture Hour, which will be 2 weeks from now. You'll get emails from me, though. The one for France is going to be February 18th at the same time. So 2 Thursdays from now. And then Casey said, are there any places that are known for environmental science and study majors? So I believe, yeah, we have one biology faculty lab. There's tons of locations, though, that you can go to. When, if you wanted to speak on that, maybe?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So yes, we do have a faculty-led program that was scheduled to go, or is still scheduled to go to Cuba this summer. And that is going to be a biodiversity type course that's going to look at the ecosystems there. We also have another environmental science program that was scheduled to go to Senegal as well. But our affiliate programs and exchange programs also have options for environmental sciences. Things that come to mind, like Australia, New Zealand, are very popular for environmental science. Costa Rica is super popular. If you're looking for a really awesome summer program, they do have some really great options in the Galapagos Islands with some of our affiliate programs. So yes, there are a ton of options and locations available for environmental study majors, and I highly encourage it because the experiences that you will have and what you'll be able to see on those programs and the hands-on learning that you'll have, it's really incredible, more so than what you would be able to do as a tourist. So if you're interested in something like that, feel free and set up an appointment with us, and we'd be happy to talk to you about your options, especially depending on when you want to go. If it's a semester or a summer, we'd be happy to figure it out for you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share, there was a slide that was skipped, so if you're staying for that, I can share it right now. And please continue asking your questions and we'll answer them about studying abroad. But just, I have this one last slide that didn't get shared because it, like, for some reason didn't load on me. But it's basically just two Korean foods. So there's kimbap and there's bibimbap. So kimbap's on the left and bibimbap is on the right. So yeah, so those are two really famous Korean dishes that are really popular. So awesome. Tiffany, did you have a specific question? I'm sorry, I'm trying to. Yeah, for the 800 numbers, yeah, we'll use, if you just want to put them right here, I'll make sure to capture that one, but we are going to go through the chat and cross-reference 800 numbers, and then anyone who participated in the Kahoot, we'll see. So